welcome, Carlos. Thank you for being here at 1 Million Minds. I'm very happy to have you here. And main reason you're here is we want to learn going through your journey of your entrepreneurship and everything you've done so that our audience watching this can, pick some of the ideas and tactics that you use to be where you are. Without any further ado, can you give us a little bit of your background and tell us where you are in your journey, please?
Yeah, thank you, Raj, for the great opportunity to be able to do this. My background is very interesting because I was born in Mexico and I did a bachelor's in chemical engineering in Mexico. And even though I've always been a people person and very interested on the humanistic side, I've always liked the engineering. And in the engineering world, the cool thing is you get a problem, you solve it, it starts, it finishes for the most part, and you move on. However, the humanistic part is continuously evolving. Not to say that the projects are not evolving in the engineering world, but usually you start, you finish, you deliver, and you move on. But in the humanistic part, there are so many variables, and dealing with the person, it's a very complex world in its own. Anyway, so I moved to the United States to do a master's in electrical engineering in Texas Tech University. And I joined Texas Instruments full time, and I did work for them on the semiconductor world, so purely electronics. And I was having, I've always been very involved with the community, either through the church or mission trips. I've always really taken the time to go with people and to give something back and to make an impact, either on my local area or even beyond that. And so I moved from TI to Schlumberger, and I worked for Schlumberger for over 12 years. And I did about 6 years in Sugar Land, Texas. And right before moving to the United Kingdom, which I had the opportunity to work in the United Kingdom for 5 years with Schlumberger, I went through personal transformation. It was very interesting because I used to say that I could lose a leg, I could lose my job, I could lose my house, but nobody would take away the only one thing that I thought I really had, which was my family. And immediately the next thing I'm seeing is my marriage broke apart. And usually it is when we have a crisis that we have a great opportunity to overcome this, right? And this is exactly what's happening right now with the current situation that we have in the world right now. And so it was a great opportunity for me to evaluate. And so what I did was put all this investment money, which was quite a lot of money, to go through therapy, to go through, I went to inside religion, outside religion, every kind of religion, whatever therapy that was out there, I looked for it. And the interesting thing was I was trying to look for either healing on the other person or something that would fix something that was already broken. And with all of that, I realized that there was something inside of me that I was carrying that I had no idea. And so after 3 or 4 years, I was able to do a complete transformation of myself. And my current life is a testament of that. And one of the reasons is because I've lost my job a month ago, and I feel completely in peace with myself. And I would have not been able for me to be able to be in this situation, except for having gone through that. So once that happened, I run into these people in our lives, which is it's very impressive how life and the universe just kind of provides for us. And so the headmaster of the school of my children in England, I met him, and we started to deliver these courses. And we started to deliver the courses in Mexico. So living in England, we weren't doing the courses in England or in the United States. We would fly all the way back to Mexico and perform the courses. And the courses were really on personal transformation with ontological coaching. And it was It was basically taking the knowledge that we've acquired on how we were able to transform ourselves and to pass that along to people. And that was fantastic, because the interesting thing is every time we give and deliver the course, every time I deliver these courses, I also receive it because I see something for myself. And this is what really gets me going, right? I don't know if it's almost like a drug, because every time you get it, it's an amazing uh, even feeling that you get, because something opens up, something you didn't know that you didn't know comes up into the surface, and you have the opportunity to address it. And so, having done courses for the past 6 years, we've actually targeted individuals, families, also organizations, right? Where we have gone and given the course to a complete set of headmasters for the Independent School Association in England, or we have gone through a company where they have educational teachers, and we've done the courses with them. And this is how I just got into the world of life coaching. Uh, so I don't have any degree in psychology or medical. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a certified life coach per se. But in the human nature, I have this ability to relate to the other person. And the great thing is, I don't have the answers for anybody except for myself. And so when I help people, and I put quotes help, what I do is I guide them through specific questions, kind of a Socratic approach, so that they can figure out for themselves what is the best path that they need to take to not only overcome the situation and survive, which right now everybody's in survival mode, but to live and enjoy their lives, right? I saw a post, all these memes that you see, that goals for this year: survive. And no, my goal is not survive. Since about 7 or 8 years ago, my goal for this life has been uh, enjoying, having contentment on any situation, despite the situation, right? Um, and so I can. That's kind of the overall of how I got here. But it has always been alongside the engineering world, right? So I've never left the engineering, and so I've been able to in a way indirectly manage it on the side. And I would take my vacation, my personal time to develop, to travel, and to deliver the courses and the material, right?
That's awesome. Okay. I don't know if you knew that, but we have a couple of things in common. Chemical engineer from India, and I
Okay.
went to Texas Tech University to do my master's too.
Okay, good.
So I wanted to say that before we started, but yes, we have a very similar background. So some of the things you said made it interesting, because as an engineer, your program, even as a project manager, is a finish and end point. But some of the things, your transformation is it's ongoing. You're always in the pursuit of
Correct.
better, right? So that's
Yep.
amazing that what you're doing. And again, I think some of the things you said is very important, because a lot of your life coaching, you are basically using what you learned in your life over the last 7 years. You've gone through a transformation. Now you're helping other people go through that. So that's amazing. But there are other folks who might not have a college degree specific to what they're trying to do, but they might caught on to, let's say, like a Facebook ads or Instagram influencer. And what they do is
Yep.
they go through the journey and they turn around and teach other people through the journey, right? So that's
Correct.
really, as entrepreneurs, I think once you get to a certain age or stage in your entrepreneurship, it is amazingly fun to actually look at other folks right behind you and help them along the way. And it brings a lot of satisfaction and happiness to you.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
but I have a couple of questions. So when you're delivering courses, I know you picked Mexico because every time I do something, I always go back to my roots too. I go back to, hey, let's go course
Right.
for entrepreneurs in India. So why Mexico? Maybe I've already answered, but why Mexico? And have you expanded your offerings to, because almost everybody across the world could use what you've learned, right? Right now, in this
Correct.
particular environment, everybody is questioning the higher, like, what am I here for? Kind of that's a question, and everybody's
Yeah.
trying to even reassess, am I even doing this job? Is it just a paycheck? Am I going to be happy about it in 20 years from now? So give me some context on why you picked Mexico. Are you planning to do this across the world in Texas where you live? Just curious.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started initially in Mexico as my mom is a psychotherapist. So she has the degree and she has a full practice. And so she was able to recommend me with patients of herself. And so it was fairly easy for us to create a course knowing that she has more than 25 years of experience. So she had already a catalog of a body of people that would trust her.
Got it. Yeah.
And so we were able to create a group after that. And within the first group, it was just word of mouth after that, over and over. And then we just started to continue to go. It's crazy how easy it can grow. And and then when I was living in England, we actually made the made this available in England. So we had a couple of courses in England itself for some of the headmasters of England, and then we also went to Ireland uh, and to do the ones for the organizational for the units. So that's how it was. And then I came back to the States. It's going to be almost 3 years ago this summer, and I've kind of slowly started to open myself for doing them in Houston or in Texas. One of the things that I can tell you is in terms of market, I don't know if whether it's oversaturated or is way too much information, and they are very expensive, and so you only go for what's known, what's expensive, and that's why usually the market in the United States goes. Um, but in Mexico, there one of the things is in a cost that was very open to low income people, right? To middle class to low income people. In fact, one of the first times that we went to Mexico, we went to government people, and we provided the course for teenagers at an extremely low cost, very for the people that are like countries that are in development, right? And I may be wrong because I'm a little bit of a judgment there, and that's how it appears to me. But in countries like they are going through um, like a consciousness growing, and so a lot of people are investing a lot of money to really go through meditations and go through items that were not accessible for them before. Versus in the U.S., there is quite a long journey of a lot of people, and so um, perhaps they may not be as open to that, contrary to what we see in Mexico, right?
Got it. So that makes sense. Again, I want to extrapolate what you said just to help entrepreneurs. They're all different industries. A couple of things you said resonated with me because one of the things I try to help our entrepreneur understand is once you have an idea, the best thing for you to find is where is your audience, right? For example, in your case, it happened that his mom or somebody else had an audience that really
Yep.
needed a problem you could fulfill, right? So if you just
Yep.
look at it from that concept, a lot of us, what we do is we build something and then we expect people to come running to buy it. I can guarantee you it never happens. So
Right.
if you're
Yeah.
building a product or a service, you absolutely have to put that in front of an audience that has a problem, or
Yeah.
they're either a problem aware or they're not aware, and you tell them, hey, this is a problem you have and I want to solve it. So I think if you extrapolate
Yeah.
what you did an amazing job of finding an audience that was receptive to this conversation. And like, I think there was a little bit of internet issue, but if I had to summarize it, every opportunity, there different work pieces. Again, we are a global society now, so nobody has to
Mm-hmm.
ever think about I'm only selling here, right? Or on my target audience.
Absolutely.
So everybody's in a different stage in their Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like in India, when
Yeah.
I started early on, some of them are, hey, I just need food and shelter. But now, as the standard of living is going up, they're thinking about other things. Am I
Of course.
happy with what I do? Can I change some? Can I help other people? Can I change it? And I think that's when the big transformation in yourself becomes. And also, that's
Yeah.
one side, right? Just the economy. And then also, as the age, 20-year-old, I didn't care about a lot of people other than me, right? 20-year-old, I did all I cared about was getting the next paycheck and a shiny car. But then as you
Yeah.
get into your 30s and 40s, and some people might be younger, I'm generalizing, but when I've gone to 40s,
Yeah.
I realize I might be on the, I'm from India, our average age is not as high as yours. So I might have only, let's say 20, 25 good years left in me. So
Yeah.
what am I here for? And some of those questions come up, right? So I think what the message for our audience is, if you have an idea or solving a problem or pain, make sure you're approaching it the right audience and presenting in front of them. And again, don't short sell yourself by saying, I'm only local, I'm going to do this. If you step away and look at
Correct.
this global village now, almost everybody can have this Zoom call. I could be in India. We could still have the Zoom call. So the
Yeah.
audience is now worldwide. So if you have a problem, identify audience and put it in front of them. And that's one of the big things, takeaways that you can get from this. So,
Yeah.
and I think some
Absolutely.
of the other stuff you said is about relationship that can, regardless of what environment, what country, what culture, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you building relationship with people is the best way
Mhm.
for you to grow yourself and your business. And I just wanted to say how
Yeah.
you said in England you started building relationship and then helping people, or just across the world you build relationship and then you help people, guide them to find their own answer, right?
Yeah.
As a good coach, that's what you do. You never tell them what to do. You kind of help them guide to find the answer.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
if you are step away from, if you just step away from it and just look at it as a coaching business, what are some of the things that you've learned along the way that works, doesn't work? Not saying you're doing a great job of transforming people, but if you step away and
Yeah.
look at it as a business, what are some of the things that you've learned that works for you, doesn't work for you? As there are more people selling courses or thinking about courses that actually want to make a difference in the world. Okay, what kind of feedback can you give
Yep.
them?
Yeah. So whenever we started the courses in Mexico, we actually started them through online
Okay,
when I was in England. And interesting enough, even though it does work to a certain level, and I think the personal coaching works through Zoom or through the internet, but in terms of a group coaching, it was a little bit hard. So we found that going to Mexico and being physically present made a huge difference. Of course, now we have the challenge of, okay, so what do we do now, right? And so I haven't closed the doors, and I'm about to open one of the first complete courses that we're going to redo in Mexico via Zoom, right? So we're going to take the lessons of what worked on the first course and what didn't work. And one of the things that didn't work is um, in the course itself is usually a 2 day. This is, I'm talking about not the organizational master classes, but the personal families transformation course. Um, we do it over the span of 2 days, a day and a half. And when
okay,
we did it over the internet, we did about maybe uh, 30 sessions divided by maybe 2 hours every other weekend or every weekend. And you need continuity. So that didn't work very well. So I think we're going to do the course in maybe 2 days, but short in duration, and only provide to them the tools that they are in need at the moment.
got it.
And so we're gonna switch to that. So that's one thing that kind of work. Now, one of the other things is I was doing the courses where the other co-founder, he was providing support, also coaching, and we kind of doing the coaching together. But then when I came back to the US, he stayed in England, and so it was a little bit hard for us to put the courses with the amount of people that would um, provide enough capital to pay for the travel for all of us. And so because I'm closer to Mexico, what I did is I ventured myself to do the course completely by myself. So
Got
he
it.
was okay with it, but I had to take a pretty big leap of faith, because the first thing is every time I would do a course, it was very interesting. I would feel very secure because he was there. But after having a conversation with him, he would say that he would feel very secure because he knew I was there. uh, and so the first time I did it by myself, I learned so much about myself. And since there, I've done 2 other courses, and I continue to do the personal coaching by myself. But to deliver the entire courses for an audience, it's been great. And so I would say, uh, step out of your comfort zone, and then really just go beyond that, right? So that's kind of has helped a lot. Another thing that has helped is when we open the courses, we've also opened it for students, and in fact we even have scholarship for students. And I find out that there were some students that had different skills that I would never envision that they were going to be useful for me. And so there's already been 2 of them. The first one was more of on the strategic planning, and she had to deliver a project for a class. And so she told me, can I take your company, your establishment to be able to run it? And so it is through her that I was able to completely revamp the logo, the strategy, my audience, and to provide all of that through a project that she had to deliver in class, right, for one of her finals. And so that was very key because had I done that separately, I would have to be paid a lot of money to be able to do that. But she was willing to give it for the experience, right? And so that's something that I did. And then lately I run into another friend that took the course and she fell in love with it. And she's more into the strategy for marketing. And so it has been through her that the Instagram was started, that I approached people in LinkedIn with our first post in there. And so we're starting to slowly get into that, right? So be open that if you give, you will receive, and there's going to be people going to be willing to put in their time. So be open to listen to them and seeing what everybody would like to contribute, because just like I can contribute to coaching people, because that's the knowledge and the skill that I have, other people are going to be able to contribute with their own skills, right?
Got it. That is, some furious notes here, but I think just to summarize what you said, it's very important, right? Like just like anything else, you might have spent hours doing a course, but once you put it in front of the audience and you're not receptive to the feedback and making those changes, then you're doing yourself and the audience a disservice. Right now, what you said is everything. And then not only that, you got a little bit more creative. You understood your audience, right? At the end of the day, online is great, but group coaching online does not cut it. So you have to incorporate some kind of face-to-face interaction to make this worth it.
Yep.
So I think what in a nutshell, it's flexibility and being open to change is critical for you to be successful. So I know a lot of folks like, oh, I spent 30 hours doing this video. You want me to redo it? The answer is your audience doesn't get it. It doesn't matter if you spend 200 hours on it, right?
Of course.
So you have to be flexible enough, because if you wed it to your idea and that's your baby, nobody can call it ugly, then you're in trouble as an entrepreneur. You have to absolutely be willing to take feedback from your paying customers, because at the end of the day, you might love it, your friends and family might love it, but if they don't pay you, it doesn't matter. The people who are paying you, of course, are the people who decide what needs to be in it. So that's another great thing. Now, right now, you've done it so long, you know what the audience needs. So the early folks who are doing these courses, one of the things I recommend is don't create an entire course. Create a schedule, an agenda, or these are the components of it. Do one or two pieces of it and test it with the audience. Test the whole thing. Guys, do you feel like these are topics I should cover? Before you shoot any videos, get some validation of this and then go ahead and do it, because now you're in tune with your audience before you do anything. And that makes a big difference. And then what you talked about is being resourceful. As a common theme I'm seeing with a lot of entrepreneurs I'm talking to is 30 million people are out of job. You know that. I've been laid off. I know that. These are not like slouches, right? These are high performing, well-earning, well-educated people who are out in the marketplace. That's one side. The other side, there are students in college doing the MBA, don't know what's going to happen when they graduate, and they need summer projects and case studies that you need to help them. I was talking to another gentleman who's in a doing something in the A&M campus, but then he leverages his students for their case studies, and he, just
Yeah.
like you did, right? So get a little bit resourceful. And I know another gentleman who did it, where a lot of really good salespeople are looking for jobs. So instead of a salary, he said, I'm going to 10x your commission, but you work in all commission, right? So this is a time where it could do be a win-win relationship for you. You're not taking advantage, but no stretch am I saying take advantage of people. All
Yeah.
I'm saying is there could be creative ways you can help them and they can help you, and you should be open to that. And I think
Yep.
some of the things you said is
Yeah, that's correct.
give value, give value, give value, and then you all good things will happen to you. I know as a
Yeah.
culture we believe in karma. The Indian culture, right, is about
Hmm.
what you give will come back to you, right? So you always
Yeah.
give is how we've been raised. Not saying Indian people are only people raised that way, but as a culturally I
That's
understand.
right.
But now when it comes to a business perspective, it's the same thing. The more you give, the more knowledge you share, the more you're gonna get back in return. So
Yeah.
really appreciate you saying that. I think being flexible and being able to step out of your comfort zone and getting a little creative with some of the arrangements you have will make your business go much higher. So
Yep.
I want to be cognizant of our time. So I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to, before we end, I want the audience to follow you. So the links to your courses, Instagram, we'll put it in the message below so we can talk about it. But before that, I just want to understand, as it stands now, what are some of the top, let's just say top two issues you're facing as a business owner? So if you say that
Hmm.
these are, if these two issues, if I say I'll do, I usually do this as a consulting exercises. If you could wave a magic wand and make one of your issues disappear and solve it, what would that be?
So I think the difficulty to travel to another country at the moment. Why? Because the concentration of where most of my clients are, which is in Mexico, I cannot go ahead at the moment. In fact, now that I don't have a job, you would think that it's almost the perfect timing for me to fly there and run a course, even if it's a small course, every weekend. I would I would be on it, right? Um, However, it's not, you cannot do the travel and then you have the social distance. And so that's been proven to be a challenge. But I know that with the individual coaching, I mean, the technology has done the bridge. And so I've started to do some coaching, and I've actually even done some personal coaching where I'm starting to receive financial benefit from it. And I've done it through online via Mexico. But but I think it's the face to face, not being able to travel to a location. That's probably one of the biggest ones.
So I know
Um,
you talked about as important as is it because a group setting is better to be face to face? Is that the biggest issue you're facing right now?
yeah, so you're being a really interesting point. Human beings, we're not islands. We're not. Um, we are independent, but we don't function completely by ourselves, right? And I think it's even proven that if there is a newborn and you live in, without the human contact, you could die, right? And so, as human beings, we are in need of the relationship. And so, I don't think there is such a thing as a personal transformation, but the personal transformation, needs to happen in a group setting. So how does it work? Usually, before this pandemic situation, we used to go into the coffee and complain about our partners, girlfriends, job, bosses, whatever. And it is through the conversations with those people that we actually bring the reality together. Well, at the same time, it is through a transformational conversation with others where the other people get it and say, oh my God, I can't believe this happened in your life. And it is a way for people to get even further transformed and reaffirm what has happened to them. Just like I'm sharing that with you. And so what happened in the courses is we're having a coaching with the students. we told them that it is key that this is not an Oprah Winfield show, and it is about that person, but it is about every person by itself. So the other participants need to be aware what's happening for them as that coaching is getting present. And then the result is somebody that has gone through a coaching. Other people sitting, when they stand up and talk, they say, oh my God, I can't believe it. I identify myself with you, and now I'm seeing a lot of this stuff that if you hadn't gone through, I would not have been able to see it for myself. And so this is where the sharing is very, very important.
Makes sense. So in a setting, even though you might be talking to me, there might be 3 or 4 other people who are going through the same situation, but this conversation you and I are having, if they're right next to me, they could feel like participate in it. They they can get empowered by this conversation because it affects
Yep.
them in some way too. Got it. So,
Absolutely.
so that's interesting problem, right? Because so one of the things I did see is I just yesterday I was talking to or I was listening to a podcast about somebody who's doing virtual events because one of the key things is an event when you go in is there's a check-in process and then not only just hearing the speakers, the networking aspect of it is key. Any event you go, the people you're meeting, the community, the connections. So what they're doing is they actually have a one-on-one check-in. If you do it, they check to make sure your internet's working, everything's connected, so when the courses happen. And then within Zoom, you can have breakout sessions. So this is like for 3,000 people, but they broke it out into like 6 people pods, 19 of them.
Okay.
And then they had an exercise where they communicated because when it's a big setting, even if you're an introvert, you're not going to go and talk to 200 people. So they made the connection happen with the
smaller
between
groups.
the people.
Yeah.
They had a strict time, 5 minutes. You have this conversation. There was some structure to it, and then they move on to another booth. And then they even had virtual happy hours where you bring your own beer or whatever your cocktail of
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they try to mimic as much as possible of an actual face-to-face interaction, which might or might not work for what we're talking about. But there's
Yep.
ways to get a little bit creative about this. And if you feel like that communication, the conversation, even if it's a big group, a group setting is better. I will give you the link to it. It's just to me, it was because I was thinking about exactly what you're doing. I was thinking about doing an event in July in India to launch my
Yep.
brand in India. And of course, this happened. So I don't know when I'm going to get to do this. So
Yep.
now I'm trying to transform that into a virtual event and
Absolutely.
how do we make this happen, right? So there are limits to technology, like you said. It's not the same as shaking someone's hand and holding somebody, giving them a hug. We can never replace that with technology, but
Yeah.
we simulate as much as we can being right next to each other and going through the
Yeah.
process.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. So there is a way for me to continue going forward, but if there is something that I could magically remove, it would be that.
So before we wrap up, I just say if you had to leave some um, words of advice to entrepreneurs who are, let's just say, course creators who are trying to develop a course, they don't know what to do. They're in the process of creating it. They're not really getting the success that they are having. What would you tell yourself? Let's just say if you rewind your life back 3 years back, what would you tell yourself are things you should focus on to be
Yeah.
move forward?
I think you really hit the nail a couple of minutes ago where you said be open. One of the things that I even teach in the course is if you come with a fixed mentality, if you come by saying this is how things are, and this is how I see things, and this is how things are, you're only going to get so far. But if you come with an open mindset, you are going to discover amazing things, right? And so be as open as possible. And within the openness, there is going to be creativity, right? Now, there's a final component to that, which is the commitment. Um, and there's going to be a point where you are going to have to make a jump. And it's a very interesting point. And what I've done is I've done my commitment before the resources arrive. And I find out that all the time the resources follow the commitment and not the opposite around. Meaning, we wish we could attend university when we had everything paid. We wish we could get married when we have a house and everything set. We wish we could have children when we have paid their colleges, but that's not how life is, or at least not for most of us.
Sure.
And so it is okay to make a commitment in a relationship, having a child, going to school. It is okay to make an educated, as much as educated, commitment. And once you make the commitment, things are going to go through, right? That's one thing. And then I think in the same line of as the openness, I would say don't try to come up with the perfect and best solution, completely integrated with everything out there, right? I don't think that's how a car or a plane was ever invented for the first time, right? So take a step and then venture yourself out. It doesn't have to be a perfect program. You may not have an Instagram, you may not have a web page, but if it's something that really calls you, that really attracts you, that you have a passion for it, then put it out there. Put it out there, be open, make a commitment, and be creative.
Awesome. I completely resonate with a couple of things you said there. So I want to summarize it for our audiences. I think you said it beautifully, was where sometimes this, not like they say about planting a tree, right? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago or today, right? So if you don't make the commitment, and I think a lot of our audience also, just entrepreneurs, you say, oh, if I did one more course, if I just did this one degree, then I'm ready. I can guarantee you that just like you said, there's nothing perfect about entrepreneurship, but what is good is you taking the first step. And when you make a commitment, a lot more opportunities open up for you. The small hinge that open big doors. You now make this first step, changing my profile title in LinkedIn, and then more opportunities open itself. So just make the first step. And a lot of people step back and say, oh my God, I've taken 28 steps. How in the world am I going to go from step 27 to 28? But they haven't taken the first step. So that's what you said too, is take the first step. Then you realize what the second step is. Don't worry about step 27 until you get to step 26. So take the first step, put yourself out in the world if you think you're going to make a difference, and you can with your experience, and then the world will respond to you and you will see the better path forward. So how can people, Carlos, follow you? Give us your Instagram or link to your post. However you want people to follow you. This is a great place to tell them, so that we are all interested in following your journey and learning from it.
Yep. So the one platform that I'm most active is in Instagram. So Instagram.com/Ichi_experience. So Ichi spelled ICHI. And it comes, that's how we call the experience, the personal experience. Interesting enough, Ichi means one in Japanese. So it's an experience of yourself. So Ichi_experience. On my LinkedIn, I'm going to be more active. And so on LinkedIn, it's linkedin.com/IN/Cisneros. So my first name, my first initial C, my last name Cisneros. And that's how you can find me in LinkedIn.
I'll make sure we put those links under the video so people can easily reach you. But I really appreciate your time, Carlos, and sharing your journey and some of the lessons learned. Again, as entrepreneurs, we're always learning. So I'm glad we were able to share your journey with you, and appreciate all of your time and the knowledge. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. I really appreciate. Be in touch and let me know when you either publish this or further work. I think it's been a pleasure to getting to know you and to collaborate and to do something like that. It's part of the creation, which is amazing, right?